Shalom Kulam, welcome everyone. We're starting chapter 3 in Hilchot Yesodei Torah, the laws of the fundamentals of Torah. Before we start this one, I want to recap the last two chapters, the first two chapters of Hilchot Yesodei Torah. We're talking about what's called Maaseh Merkava, which is the way the divine side of the world is ordered. These two chapters are starting Maaseh Breshit, which is the laws of the physical world, how the physical world is arranged. And it's important to bear in mind that the concepts here are medieval scientific concepts. They were current at the time. If Rambam were alive today, he would certainly have a different approach to the scientific side of things, but it's good to know how things were thought of in those days. And it should be said as well that a lot of this is not necessarily from the Middle Ages. It goes back much further into ancient Greek and even before periods. Anyway, Halacha Aleph. The Galgalim, remember last time we spoke about the Galgalim being the divine spheres. Hema Nikraim, Shamaim, Varakia, Uzvul, Va'aravot. They're also called Shamaim, which is heaven, and Rakia, and Zvul, and Aravot. These are all different words meaning basically the same thing. Vehem Tisha'a Galgalim, and there are 9 Galgalim. Galgal Karov Mimenu Hu Galgal Yerech. The Galgal which is close to us is the Galgal of the moon. Also, I have to mention that this is a geocentric view of the universe. In other words, the Galgalim all are around the Earth. The Earth is the center of the universe. All the Galgalim are from it outward, as opposed to our modern concept, which is the heliocentric. In other words, everything rotates around the sun. Anyway, the first Galgal is the Yereach, it's the moon. והשני שלמעלה ממנו גלגל שבו כוכב נקרא כוכב, and above it is the galgal in which the star, they call the planets also stars, the star which is called kochav, and kochav is the one that we call Mercury today. וגלגל שלישי שלמעלה ממנו שבו נוגה, and the one above it is the one which has Venus. Galgal Revi'i Shebo Hama, and the fourth Galgal is the one that has the sun. The Galgal Hamishi Shebo Ma'adim, the fifth one has Mars. The Galgal Shishi Shebo Kochav Tzedek, Saturn is in the sixth one. The Galgal Shvi'i Shebo Shabtai, and then Saturn is in the seventh one. The Galgal Shmini Shebo Sha'ar Kol Kochavim Shenir'im Berakia, and in the eighth one are all the rest of the stars which we see in the sky. V'galgal tishi'i hu galgal hazozer b'chol yom mimizrach lema'arav, and the ninth one is that one which returns rather each day from east to west. Okay. It's also important to mention later on we'll talk about the laws of the calendar. And it's astonishing that with this conception of the universe, knowing today as we do how incorrect it is in fact, nevertheless they managed to do some amazing astronomical work and be able to calculate orbits and stuff like that. It was really amazing. Anyway, bet. והוא המקיף את הכל ומסבב את הכל. This ninth sphere that we're talking about is the one that surrounds and causes everything else to rotate. וזה שתראה כל הכוכבים כאילו הם כולן בגלגל אחד, ואף על פי שיש בהם זה למעלה מזה. And the fact that you see all of the stars apparently as if they were in one layer, in one galgal, when in fact one of them is above the other. This is because מפני שהגלגלים טהורים וזכים כזכוכית וכספיר. The reason that it appears that way is that the galgalim are absolutely transparent, like glass or like sapphire, which might be diamond. ולפיכך רואים כוכבים שבגלגל השמיני תחת הגלגל הראשון. And therefore, we see these stars that are in the eighth galgal as if they're below the first one. Gimel. כל גלגל וגלגל משמונת הגלגלים שבהם הכוכבים, every one of the 8 galgalim which contain stars, נחלק לגלגלים הרבה, זה למעלה מזה כמו גלידי בצלים. They're all separated into additional galgalim like the layers of an onion. מהם גלגלים סובבים ממערב למזרח, some of them have galgalim that go from west to east, ומהם סובבים ממזרח למערב, כמו הגלגל החוזר התשיעי. And some of them go from east to west like the ninth galgal. וכולם אין ביניהם מקום פנוי. And between none of them is there any empty space. And this is another principle of ancient astronomy, ancient physics, I should say, is that we say nature abhors a vacuum. That comes from them. Nature abhors a vacuum, and there was no empty space at all in their conception of the universe. Dalet. Kol galgalim, all of these galgalim, einam lo kalim velo kvedim. They are neither light nor heavy. Ve'en lehem lo ayn adom velo ayn shahor velo she'ar aynot. They're neither red nor black nor any other color. וזה שאנו רואים אותן כעין התכלת, and that when we look in the sky we see it looks blue. This is just למראית העין בלבד, this is just an optical illusion. לפי גובה האוויר, because of the thickness of the atmosphere. וכן אין להם לא טעם ולא ריח. Likewise the galgalim have neither taste nor smell. לפי שאין אלו מאורעים מצויים אלא בגופות שלמטה מהם, because those sorts of properties only appertain to those things which are below the galgalim, in other words, the things which are on earth. Now then, of course, we know that the heavenly bodies are made of the same stuff that everything else is made of, but they did not know that. Hey. כל הגלגלים האלו המקיפים את העולם כולו, all of these galgalim which surround the earth, the entire earth, in agulim kadur, they're completely spherical. והארץ תלויה באמצע, and the earth is suspended in the middle of them. ויש למקצת מן הכוכבים, and for some of the כוכבים, some of the stars, have galgalim קטנים שהם קבועים בהם. They are embedded in smaller galgalim. This is what is known as epicycles, for those of you who care about ancient astronomy. ואין אותם הגלגלים מקיפים את הארץ, and those minor galgalim don't surround the earth, אלא גלגל קטן שאינו מקיף קבוע וגלגל גדול המקיף. Rather, they're small galgalim which are embedded in the larger galgal which surrounds everything. Vav. מספר כל הגלגלים המקיפים את כל העולם, the number of galgalim which surround the entire world, is 18. ומספר כל הגלגלים הקטנים שאינם מקיפים, 8. And the number of the galgalim which don't surround us, the epicycle ones, are 8. וממהלך הכוכבים, and from the orbits of the stars, actually the wandering of the stars, וידיעת שיעור סביבתן בכל יום ובכל שנה, ונתינתן לרוח צפון ורוח דרום, and from knowing the timings of their revolutions in every day and every year, and whether they face north or south, ומגובהן מעל הארץ וקריבתן, or how high or below the earth they are. יוודע מספר כל אלו הגלגלים. From all of this, it can be known how many galgalim there are. בצורת הליכתן, and the paths they go on. v'derech hakafatan, and the manner in which they revolve. V'zohi chochmat heshbon tkufot u'mazalot, and this is the wisdom of basically astronomy. That's what cheshbon tkufot u'mazalot really is. Usfarim rabim hibru ba chochmei Yavan, and many books about this were written by the sages of Greece. Zayin. Galgal HaTshe'i shu mekif et hakol, this ninth galgal that surrounds absolutely everything. Hilkuhu ha'hachamim hakadmonim lishneim asar chelik. The early sages split it into 12 pieces, 12 parts. Kol chelik v'chelik me'elu, I'm sorry, kol chelik v'chelik he'elu lo shem al shem tzura shetira'eh bo min hakochavim shelamata mimeno shehem mechuvanim tachtav. The ancient sages gave each of these 12 pieces a name which corresponds to the shapes which can be seen in the stars which are in that section. Vehem ha-mazalot, and these are what we call the mazalot or the constellations. Sheshmotam, whose names are Taleh, the sheep, Shor, the ox, Teomim, twins, Sartan, crab, Ariel, lion, Betula, the virgin, Moznaim, the scales, Akrav, the scorpion, Keshet, which is a bow, Gdi, lamb, Dli, a water pail, and Dagim, fish. Het. Galgal HaTshe'i atzmo, the ninth galgal itself. Ein bo lo haluka v'lo tzura mikol tzurot elu v'lo kochav. It doesn't have, basically has nothing at all in it. None of these shapes or none of the stars. V'ko ela b'chibur ha'kochavim shebegalgal shmini hu sheyira'eh v'kochavim gdolim shebo tavnit hatzurot elu. Rather, the fact that we see the shapes, it's only from the eighth galgal where the stars are that we the larger stars there that we see the shapes that we attribute to the ninth galgal. Or korov mehen, or close to those. Tet. Ve'elu shtem esrei tzurot, and these 12 shapes. Lo hayu mechuvanot כנגד אותן החלקים אלא בזמן המבול. These 12 shapes were not oriented in the specific 12 places that we mentioned in the ninth sphere, except during the period of the flood, so roughly 4,000 years ago. And this is interesting. At that time is when these names were given to them. But in our current time, they already have moved a little bit. For all these stars in the eighth sphere, they also move around, they also rotate like the sun and the moon. Rather, the only reason we don't notice it is that they move slowly. And that distance, which the sun goes in one day, each of the stars in this eighth sphere will only move that amount in about 70 years. And this is actually all correct in as far as we're thinking of a geocentric framework. The truth of the matter is the reason they move is that the Earth precesses on its axis. It's like a top. It sort of moves around so that north is not always facing the same place in the sky. And that's why the stars move once, every 70 years as much as the sun moves in a day. Anyway. Yud. All the stars that can be seen. There are stars which are small, and the earth is bigger than one of them. ויש מן כוכבים שכל אחד מהם גדול מן הארץ כמה פעמים. And there's some which are bigger than the earth several times. והארץ גדולה מן הירח כמו 40 פעמים, and the earth is bigger than the moon about 40 times. This actually is correct. The earth is about 49 times bigger than the moon in terms of volume. והשמש גדולה מן הארץ כמו 170 פעמים. And the sun is bigger than the earth about 170 times. And this is not correct because they thought that the sun was much closer, obviously, than it actually is. The sun is much bigger than the earth. It's something like 1,000,000 times bigger. נמצא הירח אחד מ6,800 מן השמש בקירוב. And from this we find that the moon is about 6,800 times smaller than the sun, approximately, which again is not correct. ואין בכל הכוכבים, and amongst all the stars, there is none, כוכב גדול מן השמש ולא קטן מכוכב שגגל בגלגל שני. There are no stars which are bigger than the sun, nor are they smaller than the כוכב שבגלגל שני, which is Mercury. And of course, we know this is also not correct. However, it doesn't really matter for our purposes. י"א כל הכוכבים והגלגלים, all the stars and the spheres, כולם בעלי נפש ודעה והשכל הם. They all of them have a soul and knowledge and wisdom. And this we also know to not be correct, or at least I should say we think this is not correct. We don't really have a way of proving it. והם חיים ועומדים ומכירים את מי שאמר והיה העולם. And they all stand and they all live and stand and are aware of he who spoke and the world came into creation. כל אחד ואחד לפי גודלו ולפי מעלתו, each and every one of them according to his greatness and level, משבחים ומתארים ליצרם כמו מלאכים. They all praise God just like the angels do. וכשם שמכירים את הקדוש ברוך הוא, כך מכירים את עצמם, just as they know God, they also know themselves. ומכירים את המלאכים שלמעלה מהם. And they also know the angels which are just above them. ודעת הכוכבים והגלגלים, and the knowledge that the stars and the galgalim have, is מיעוטה מדעת המלאכים. It's below that of the angels. וגדולה מדעת בני אדם. But it's bigger than that of humans. Again, we don't have any way of saying one way or the other, but we don't believe that the heavenly bodies have a life in the sense that we do, although we can't really prove that. Yud bet. Bara ha'el lamata min ha'galgal ha'yereach. Okay, now we're going into so up until now we've talked about the conception, their conception of the universe from the moon and above, which is astronomy. Now we're going down into Earth, which is, again, we're going to go into the theory of the four elements, which we know also to be incorrect. However, it was what they had to work with. All right. Bara ha'el lamata migalgal ha'yereach, the Holy One created below the level, below the air, below the sphere of the moon. Golem ehad she'eno kegolem hagalgalim. He made a different kind of substance, which is different from the substance of the galgalim. Uvara arba tzurot legolem ze, and he created four different what's the word I'm looking for? Not instances. Four different appearances of this kind of this matter. Four different essences. That's the word. Four different essences of this material. Ve'einam kitzurat galgalim, and their essence is not the same as that of the galgalim. V'nikbe'a, come on. V'nikbe'a kol tzura v'tzura b'miktzat golem zeh. And this each of these essences is embedded in in the material. Surah Rishonah, the first essence, is Tzurat Esh, the essence of fire. נתחברה במקצת גולם זה ונהיה משניהם גוף האש. From a little bit of this essence of fire and a little bit of the matter, this golem, this raw material, was created from both of them was created the body of fire, the physical instance of fire. The tzura shniya, and the second essence, tzurat ruach, is the wind. Nitchabra mikzato v'niya mishnehem guf haruach. Again, connecting a little bit of this essence of wind with the primordial matter, creates the body of wind. Tzura shlishit, and the third kind is tzurat hamayim, that of water. Nitchabra mikzato v'niya mishnehem guf hamayim. Again, connected with the primordial matter, became water. Tzura revi'it, and the fourth form is tzurat haaretz. Nitchabra mikzato v'niya mishnehem guf haaretz, is earth, and again connected with the primordial matter became earth. Nimtza lamata min harakia. So there we find below heaven there are arba'a gufim mechulakim ze lema'ala mizeh. There are four different kinds of bodies of matters, which are separated one above the other. וכל אחד ואחד מקיף את שלמטה ממנו מכל רוחותיו כמו גלגל. And each of these surrounds the one that is below it, just like the galgalim. והגוף הראשון והסמוך לגלגל הירח, the first one, which is next to the galgal of the moon, hu guf ha'esh, that's the fire, obviously because fire is lighter than everything, it rises up, it's next to the moon. Lamata mimenu guf haruach, below the fire is the wind. Lamata mimenu guf hamayim, but below it is the water. Lamata mimenu guf haaretz, below it is the ground. Ve'en benehem makom panui below guf klal, and as I explained before, according to their conception, there is no such thing as a vacuum. There is no emptiness at all in the universe, and so between these four layers, there's no empty space whatsoever. Arba'a gufot ha'elu, these four things, einam ba'alei nefesh ve'einam yod'in v'lo mekirim. They are completely inanimate and inert. They don't know and they don't understand anything. They don't have a soul. Ela ki gufim meitim. Rather, they are like dead bodies. V'yesh l'kol achad v'had mehem minhag she'eno yoda'o v'lo mesigo ve'eno yokol l'shanoto. And every one of them has, even though it doesn't have knowledge or understanding, it nevertheless has a nature which is embedded in it, and it doesn't know about it, and it can't understand it, but it also can't change it. V'zeh she'amar David, and this is what David meant when he said, Hallelu et Hashem min haaretz taninim v'chol teomot eshu varad. Praise God from the land, the crocodiles, and from all the depths, the fire and hail. Inyan udvarim, the meaning of that is Hallelujah bnei Adam migvorotav shetiru be'esh uvarad ubishar bruim shetiru lamata min harakia. It means that humans, you should praise God when you see the fire and the hail and the rest of the creations that you see below heaven. Shegvurotam tamid nikeret, for their power is always known. Lekatan v'legadol, for the small and the great. And that is the end of this week's reading of Halachot Per Gimel. Next week we will not be doing this because it's Tisha B'Av. We will skip a week. So Dalet will be in 2 weeks. If anybody wants to say anything, I'm opening it up.